So,
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is the Liberty First Foundation. You're here with your two hosts. You have Frank Johnson, you have Michael Voss. We are happy to be here because it is 9 p.m. Do you know where your freedom is? For those of us who are a little bit older, maybe out of New York City in particular, you know what that means. See, in the past, we used to have enough freedom and enough trust in our community, our neighbors, to be able to have our kids out until the sun went down. And today, thanks to all the progressive movement towards the left in our lifetimes, we now are terrified to let our kids go outside of our sight at any time on any day, anywhere. Isn't that an improvement? Yeah, I thought so too. But on the Liberty First Foundation, what we do every week is we have a conversation at 9 p.m. here on Friday. It is a roundtable where Frank, myself, Mike, Jeremy, sometime guests like Dan Waz last week. We have individuals like Jan and we have Peter who come on and we talk about some of the issues that matter. We talk about our freedom, how we can improve America, because making America great is a good thing. And I can't imagine how anyone wouldn't want it to be good. How would you not want your home to be better? Of course you do. So do we. And that's why we're here every week. And with that being said, for the intro, I want to introduce my co-host, Frank Johnson, one of the co-founders of the Liberty First Foundation. Frank, thank you for letting me start us up.
why I could swear you've done that before. My God.
Mind you, folks, that was completely improv. He told me 15 seconds earlier, like, go for it.
Yeah, Mike says, hey, you know, remember that, you know, where your kids are? I was like, yeah, good. Well, you can do the show's intro tonight. You know, I get a lot of ribbon from a lot of my YouTube buddies because I'm like the one take guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do a 15-minute video, one take, get it all done. And everyone's like, how do you do a 15-minute video without any edits? You don't do no cutaways. You don't do this. You don't do that. You know, I do a lot of picture and a little, you know, and I'm like, all right, you see the 15-minute take that I got right. You don't see the 24 attempts that it took to get it right.
Exactly.
But once a year, I try to compile a blooper reel and put it all the stuff together. And I have yet to be able to assemble one that is not just a long 15-minute beep. Go through. You know, I try to keep my YouTube channel kind of family friendly. You know, I mean, shit is about the worst word that you'll ever hear on the channel, but on the blooper reel, it's like a Quentin Tarantino movie.
I know exactly.
So, but just to see a veteran come on and just do a beautiful intro in one shot with no pause, hardly even gasping for air is incredible. That's incredible. It's very impressive. I see you got some comments over on the side. Petey, good evening, brother. I thought you were supposed to be going to sleep by now. And good evening, Jan. Jan, you'll probably notice that there's a little click in the box there, so you can pop in anytime you want a little later or whenever we're here. Jeremy is probably on his way to his studio right now, and we're pretty sure that Mike Marshall is still having internet problems up where he lives because it's April 14th, and I still think they have 6 feet of snow outside his house. I don't think he's getting any reprieve from that anytime soon. But hopefully this week we're gonna be helping him get some updates done, so he can get some better control over what his internet is capable of.
Yeah, he takes the whole I'm in upstate New York a little too far. Yeah, it's like he's way up.
Yeah, how upstate are you? I'm Canada. That's how upstate.
Yeah.
It should almost be a disqualifier to let him even come on the channel because he's almost in another country.
Yeah, exactly. But it is crazy. Matter of fact, I was talking to another channel just before from Canada. Do you know? I was just talking to a guy from Yemen. It was another channel's they were doing a live stream. They do it infrequently, and they happened to have a guy from Yemen on, which is really cool. So he got to confirm for me that Iran is shipping in illegal weapons, that they are putting pressure on the Middle East. The Houthis, which are the rebels, they are basically Al Qaeda, are taking over all of Yemen. And that's because China has been working with Iran to take over the Middle East. And if you don't realize that means more global terror, you haven't been paying attention, folks. So that was very frightening. And I just got to confirm that live about an hour before we came on here today. This is what I do with my time.
Well, thank God you're doing it, because I don't have the mental capability of reaching even so much far as outside of our own Congress. It's just whatever's happening in Washington. That's about the extent of where I can go. Except I look at what's going on in the world. I get my intel report every week, and I'm like, I can't even wrap my head around some of the geopolitical nightmares that are possible when you have weak leadership, corrupt leadership in the United States. Yeah, it's.
I understand, but it's funny because people to this day, and I just had last week, I had a gentleman who was a progressive, and he voted for Biden, and he just talked to me last week, Sunday, and he goes, I just looked at my business, I'm looking at my life, and it doesn't make sense anymore. It's not working. I can't support Biden. I can't support this movement. It's not making my life better. I'm like, I've been only telling you that for the last 10 years you've known me. It's like, oh, but you don't understand, Mike. I'm like, I'm the one who told you. It's because they're starting to really pay attention to the details. And it's scary because we have a weak leader, and literally you can trace almost every single major issue affecting America now to to July 17th, when we saw the Taliban take over Iran and Joe Biden started to run away. And everything started cascading from there. We saw the price of energy go up. We saw that put more pressure on America in terms of our inflation. Our allies lost all their confidence in us. All of the rogue nations in the world, China, North Korea, Iran, and of course, Russia, all decided to take action to militarize. And it has not stopped since that moment, which is why we are seeing now every nation in the world is all militarizing, including Guam. Guam is building up their military now.
That's going to be problematic, because if they don't evenly distribute their military arsenal throughout the island, there's a good possibility that place could capsize. and we, and Hank, we better refer to Hank Johnson and verify with him that, because it was him that brought it to our attention a couple of years ago that Guam is in serious jeopardy.
Tipping right over.
Oh, yeah, they're going to flip, because the island is so much longer than it is, wide, that it could just, it's basically a canoe. It's a land canoe. And if, God forbid, they we send them a couple of Abrams tanks and they put them on the north slope, it's over. It's over.
Yeah, well, it's that kind of thinking that got us into the position where the world is militarizing, and you can't deny this. It is getting more dangerous. And I know a lot of people say, well, but I'm not overseas. We had 98 individuals who came across our southern border that is wide open in 2022 alone, that we know of, that were linked to and believed to be terrorists, and of at least 6 of those 98, we know expressly had a plan to assassinate U.S. elected individuals elected in office. So at least 6 of the 98 had an assassination plan, at least 98 that we caught, and that was just in 2022 alone. It was an all-time record. Yeah, the rest of the world getting more militarized, the rogue nations rising up means you're in danger here at home. They are connected. It's amazing. But but if you're only
Well,
listening to
and
CNN, you'll never know. Go ahead, Mike. Hey, Mike, it's good to have you.
finally made it. People think something's happening overseas or in another country that we aren't affected here. You need to reconsider things. A lot of what's happening around the world is because of events that are happening here. We are not immune to it. In fact, typically when the United States gets a sniffle, the rest of the world gets a cold.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people need to start understanding. Okay. And if these things are happening across the world, we need to start seriously looking at the state we are in, defensively, and in a lot of other areas. Okay. I mean, we are highly vulnerable. And for us to believe that we aren't, not a good thing.
Well, I think it's obvious that we're not. I mean, look at the news that obviously one of the big news stories or at least that I follow is we have an Air National Guardsman. This is a reservist in the Air Force.
Right.
Somehow got his hands on NSA above top secret level. These are eyes only, immediate level records, and was able to distribute them around the world. How in the hell does a reservist have access to information at the highest levels of our government? I do not understand this.
All right. It's very easy to understand. It's very easy to understand. He's a reservist, and his full-time job is an auto detailer, and he was sent over to Biden's house to take care of the vet.
Well, that I could believe. Yeah, he went to the garage, the
Yeah.
super ultra secret garage that has all the security of my front door.
Yeah. Well, look, the whole situation. I haven't really been. This thing happened so quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and information got out so
quickly.
quick. They got this guy narrowed down, scoped out. They got a helicopter flying over his house. 30 guys coming over to 30 feds coming over there in full riot gear. Locking his kid up. He's sitting on his back porch reading a book. Doesn't notice there's a helicopter flying over him. Doesn't say anything about the helicopter flying over him. And he's not a threat to anybody.
But here's the thing. Let me mention this, Frank. Think about it. He is such a mastermind. He is so brilliant that he was caught almost instantly, if we're to believe every single report. He was instantly found, instantly tracked down. They know exactly who did it and when he did it and how he did it. And they were able to get him surrounded with more military than anyone needs for one civilian. But more importantly, if he's such a screw up that it was that easy, how did he get above top secret level documents?
Look at who our president is.
And that should terrify everyone.
First off, you guys need to understand this guy wasn't just some run-of-the-mill National Guardsman. That's what everybody in the press wants you to believe.
No, I understand.
This guy was an intelligence analyst. Because of his job, he had access to these records through various intelligence boards through his military computers. Okay, and that's how he got the access.
But anyone, even for a reservist,
I
understand he has a clearance, but clearance at that level is, at least in my experience, has always been held to those who are career and full-time active military, not reservists who would incidentally get access to that kind of information. It's
Oh.
too high level. You need not just the regular background check, you need DOD, NSA security background checks.
What my thing is that for a guy who's got all of these clearances, he's got all of this access. He's obviously somebody who knows his way around the system or anything. How does somebody with all of that knowledge, all that capability, all that information at his fingertips leave himself so vulnerable to get picked up so quickly without even so much as an attempt to cover his tracks?
That's my
They
big
didn't
question.
Right. So, and the fact that this whole thing went down the way it did, and we still have a leaker coming out of the Supreme Court that they've pretty much called off the investigation because they've determined that it's impossible to find out who leaked the information.
Well, if you guys notice, if it's somebody they want to find, they find them like that. If they don't want to get any further with an investigation or anything, we don't hear anything else about it.
True. That's very true. And that's, again, how do we have confidence? And that's the problem. This shakes not only our confidence, this shakes the confidence our allies have in us. Because we just pissed off South Korea, all of NATO. We just made Russia very, very happy. Ukraine is pissed off. I mean, this is in ways, this is as bad as what we saw in Afghanistan. Thankfully, we didn't have more Americans abandoned besides the ones we've abandoned in Afghanistan and Ukraine already. But it's just as bad as screw up with all of our allies, all of the friendly nations, and all of the rogue nations in the world saying, these guys have no idea what they're doing. It's the kids are running amok in the playground, and it's time for them to do whatever they want. At least
I actually think he's a scapegoat. I think
sure.
if it's from somebody higher up, they planted evidence on him.
Hell, he probably volunteered.
I don't know about that. I don't know that he's necessarily a scapegoat. I don't know that they necessarily found him as quickly as they tried to lead on that they did. Because intelligence was leaked or released happened over a lot longer period of time than what they are alluding to. First and foremost. Second off, I kind of see this guy more like an Edward Snowden than I do some guy that's out to harm America type of deal. He was actually releasing a lot of stuff that we were being lied to about.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
The question I have about this whole thing
I
is,
mean, if you look at it, that's what happened. Basically, that's what Snowden was doing also, was releasing a lot of information about lies that we were being fed and activities that NSA and so forth were doing.
all right, but here's part of the problem that I'm having with the whole situation is, when was the last bit of information that this guy released put out there? It was like within a week, right? Some of the stuff that he came out with was a week, 2 weeks ago.
That appears to be the case, or at least that's the
case. If they knew who the guy was, or they had an idea where it was, that this investigation has been going on since he started leaking the information. If they knew who he was and let him continue leaking information, then whomever was involved in the investigation must have also wanted certain information to be made public. Otherwise, they would have swooped in and scooped this kid up ahead of time. If it was this sensitive, they would have cut it off as soon as they knew who it was. They would have pulled him out, cut off his ability to put any of this information out there. But he kept putting it out. So if they knew who he was, they let him put the stuff out. And if they let him put that stuff out, it was put out for a reason. Otherwise, they stopped them from day one.
That's what I was going to say. They always want that certain amount to be out there. So then if something happens, they can go, oh, look, we caught somebody.
That's a political way to look at it, but we are in a military conflict that is in the process of escalating. Those are not the information they put out there really puts a morale disadvantage as well as a confidence disadvantage on all of our allies. South Korea may well have armed or helped us to arm the Ukraine, and now they're in full retreat. They're like, no, you get no weapons. That Ukraine, that we were going, amazingly, America somehow can't make the weapons we need, and we're going to South Korea to make them for us. I don't understand why that's the case. We're bigger than them in terms of arms manufacturing, but whatever. But they're not going to do it now. That hurts. That makes us embarrassed. It shows us as being weak, not only because we can't make the arms, but we can't convince our allies to be able to give us the arms. And if we want Ukraine to win, as they say they do, then this hurts their ability. This is bad on all levels. And by the way, I do want to mention, because Mikey brought it up, Snowden and this kid, Jack Teixeira, I think they're both absolutely criminals. They both violated the secrecy of the United States. They endangered people's lives by their actions. And I want them both to be in jail for the rest of their lives. But that doesn't take away from, did Snowden do some positive as well? Yes. And this kid, Teixeira, is this a setup? Is he falling on his sword? I don't know. But this crime means he should be in jail for life. Both of them should be in jail for life.
Well, here's the thing, Mike. You said a few minutes ago,
yeah,
that this is a very demoralizing thing to have happened. Okay,
yeah.
That it's going to bring morale down. It's going to weaken the support of our friendly nations, of our allies. It's going to do a lot of stuff. How is this any different? Now you got to go along with me for, because you know how I think in 4 dimensions. I kind of think outside the box a lot. If we look at the history of what this administration has done from a military perspective, in the last couple of years, there has been a deliberate attempt. I mean, it's not even an attempt. It's been successful to weed out warriors, to lower the morale, reduce enrollment, to the point where they're now dropping the bars of eligibility of what qualifies to levels not seen since well, let's face it, the Ukraine. You know, if you can walk, you can fight. That's pretty much where they've lowered the levels to the point now. Kind of makes me wonder if the leaking isn't also deliberate. Maybe not biased him. Maybe he's an agent of whoever wants to do it. But if what you say is true, that this kind of leak is going to further damage us from a militaristic standpoint and from the way the rest of the world views us, mission accomplished. It's already been underway. This government that we're in right now has been doing that for the last 2 years. This way, they get to accomplish their goal that much further, but still be able to put their hands up in the air and go, I didn't know nothing about it. So maybe when I said before, why was certain information allowed to keep, finding its way out, if they knew who this kid was and they had taken their time investigating? If they had sights on this kid a month ago and he's still been releasing this information, they let it get released because it fits the agenda. Him leaking it is just the convenience. It's just a convenience. It's like, if you got a dog that you need to put to sleep and you find out that your neighbor was poisoning the dog the whole time along, you can be mad at the neighbor for poisoning your dog, but he just pretty much is doing the same thing you're doing. It's the same. End goal is the same. It's just who's the one pulling the trigger.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. I mean, for the level of secrecy that he would have to be at to access this, which I don't think any reservist has, or at the very least shouldn't have, there's also a psych eval component to this as well. You have to be psych evaled because of the sensitivity of the information. They have to find out, are you capable of being corrupted, or what's the ease of being able to use you to get this kind of information? I mean, I understand what the process is. I had an NSA investigation while I was in service because I had individuals that I believed were Russian agents come up to me in civilian clothes, in my civilian clothes, and start asking very specific questions about certain technical aspects of what I did in Marines. And so, and it was so outside the realm of anything normal, especially considering it was a stranger, so outside the realm that the NSA came in to do an investigation, which also included doing a background check on me and an eval on me to find out if I was the risk and that I was trying to cover it up. It was one of the first DoD NSA evaluations and reviews that I have, and I have a pretty decent file from what I understand, but because I do this every week. But so this kid had to go through that whole process to get the security clearance he had, which was well above the security clearance I had. And that's, again, this sounds like someone who's falling on his sword to advance the agenda for someone else. And I am terrified that it could be General Milley, or who we know is willing to go outside of the White House, go outside the boundaries of his position to push an agenda that he thinks is good, regardless of whether or not it's treasonous. And he's already taken action with China, and he already hates our military because he believes in white rage. So General Milley's my man that says he's the one who's truly behind it. And this is the fall guy, like you mentioned, Jan. But no matter what, it just makes me unnerved because there's no good upside on this, regardless of who they caught, how quickly they caught him, and if they throw everything at the book on him. The inherent problem is far more internal and insidious, I think.
Well, let's see. He's taken away our chance at being, I'm talking Biden, he's taken away our chance at being fuel independent, oil independent, natural gas independent. We're giving all our weapons away to Afghanistan and Ukraine. We're in a recession. Military was next. It's all about taking this country down.
Scarily, it seems like it more and more.
I just wonder if this guy is going to be the next Bradley Manning.
What? He's going to become trans so he can become a hero and get away with everything?
Yeah, I wonder if that's probably because part of the agenda. Because I'm on my other computer here. I'm pulling up pictures of the arrest.
He's 21 and he's from Massachusetts. Absolutely, that may happen.
Yeah.
Which some people may say, Mike, you're insulting some people in Massachusetts. Yes, some people I am. Absolutely. Happens when you're in a bluer than blue state and you have a young kid. Yeah.
Yeah, Peter just pointed out to Jan's point, Sleepy Sniffy gave more liquid propane gas away today. Further diminishing our reserves.
Yeah, endangering the nation.
Look, here's I don't know how many times I'm going to say it. I always feel like a broken record, and I always feel like anytime somebody listens to me, they think, oh, there, as Reagan said to Mondale, oh, there you go again. But I'm kind of thinking there are no coincidences. There are no coincidences. Everything that we're seeing happening is happening for a reason. And it's a big party, and none of us are invited to it, except the only thing is we're going to get stuck with the catering bill. By the time it's all said and done, we are going to be the ones that have to pay the price for everybody else's indulgences. And right now, it seems that the flavor of the month is the complete and total decaying of America.
Well, I
Like
also think the
the
timing
sector
of
right now that's not suffering.
I also think the timing of this is very interesting too, because you guys know that China has turned over some stuff to the I think it was Congress. He turned over stuff that points a finger at Biden and his ties to China. Well, now all of a sudden you've got an arrest of the guy that's supposedly leaking classified information. Look over here. Don't look over here.
Well, the speed of it is very interesting because it instantly took away all the attention from Tennessee, which the Tennessee Democrats took away the attention from the Tennessee trans shooter, which was a big deal because it proves that gun control doesn't work and there's a bigger problem in our nation right now. It covered up the Colorado 19-year-old that was picked up not with red flag laws because they were planning to commit a mass shooting just like in Tennessee. That got completely waved away. The school shooting prior to that, which was in, I believe it was Dallas, with the black kid who shot 2 teachers and then ended his own life, that got blown away. So notice those stories are all gone. Trump and what's happening in New York, Alvin Bragg, that story got totally thrown away. Because
Well,
Bragg,
you
The
forgot a
Kentucky
shooting. You
one,
forgot the what was it?
and the
bank shooting.
Louisville shooting in
Yeah, the bank
Kentucky.
shooting, where the mom called the police and told them what he was planning.
Suicide by cop. He shot a couple people, sat down, waited for the police, got up, and then shot them when they showed up. It was suicide by cop. And again, gun control failed. Absolutely failed. So it took all those stories and all those failures of gun control over and over and over again, where we saw that everyone passed the background checks. They were perfectly legal. No red flags worked. None of the gun control laws that they have told us will make us safe, none of them worked. Not one. And they're going, but the guns are the problem. No, it's not the guns. These are all damaged, terribly damaged, demonic individuals, monsters. Some of them wanted to kill 9-year-old children, and we're throwing that story out with the bathwater because new story, move on. Don't remember what just happened. Talk about something new. It really pisses me off.
Well, and here's another thing on this classified documents deal.
Yeah.
With as much as it's been in the news over the past 10 years, 15 years, how much classified information the United States has failed to keep control of?
Oh, God. You got reams and reams of documents and information.
Okay, you got Assange, you've got Snowden, you've got this guy, you've got who knows how many members of Congress, you've got vice presidents,
You got Hillary Clinton as
former
Secretary of State.
presidents, etc. All
You got
with classified documents.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this, on top of everything else, that is probably where we really need to focus on, is the lack of the ability of the United States to maintain control over its secure information. It has failed on every level.
Yeah, we have serious problems. And it's not getting any better under this administration because they are too busy trying to win the next election. That is the only thing they seem to care about. And everyone in the world recognizes it. They're busy trying to win the next election, and they're letting everything fall to the wayside. You can't do that as the leader of the world, whether we like it or not. We're the police of the world, whether we like it or not. We are the commercial giant of the world, whether we like it or not. And
Now-
the world is looking at us for freedom because we're supposed to be the shining beacon in the dark. And we are failing at all of those because we have a weak leader that everyone is afraid to say he's being mentally manipulated or he's insane. Neither one is a good situation. And they are far too focused on short-term politics than the long-term consequences of what the hell they are doing. And I think all the data backs that up. I think all the
here's
data backs.
another thing that how much, okay, this is just what we know about. How much information is getting out that we don't know about?
Well, that's kind of scary. There's a lot we don't know about.
Yeah, exactly. That's really scary. How much of classified information is getting out that we have no clue about? Okay. I mean, we know that multiple members of Congress were compromised by Fang Fang. Okay,
Oh, you're
Chinese
talking about
spy.
Swalwell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and others.
Dianne Feinstein with her driver of 20 years who is a Chinese spy. Yeah. I remember that one too.
Well, isn't McConnell married to a Chinese?
Okay.
Well, I would not fault anyone for being who they marry because they don't necessarily mean they're elite.
No, I wouldn't either.
But we know for a fact that Dianne Feinstein's driver was an agent for China, and we know for a fact that Fen Fen, the mistress, girlfriend, booty call of Eric Swalwell, since he was at the University of Delaware, where they had the Confucius Institute, yeah, we know she's a spy too. So those we know have been confirmed by the FBI. I can't speak to McConnell's
and we
wife.
also know, because of that compromised relationship, that the CCP played a very important role in getting Swalwell elected.
Twice, yes. Elected and reelected, yeah. They had several staffers picked by Fen Fang to be part of his reelection committee who were tied to the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, as well. And he's on the Intelligence Committee on the House. Dianne Feinstein was on the House Intelligence Committee for the Senate. I mean, people, these are problems. Media wants you to forget about it. I have a long memory.
Okay. And again, these are things that we know about. How much of this information, how much do we not know about? That should be really troubling for all Americans.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously, it's trouble for me. Go ahead.
Tomorrow, everybody's news story. On to the next headline.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to remember this stuff after 3 months. You're not even supposed to remember it after a week. And you're supposed to move on. We're too busy. There's too much news.
Today's date. Today, you're not supposed to remember it after today. Tomorrow, forget everything from yesterday. Because it no longer matters.
It amazes me sometimes.
Okay.
When I'm talking. Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, the attention span of all of America is getting extremely short-lived, and people do not comprehend the damage that is doing to us. Okay, and we can see most popular apps nowadays are apps that feature 30-second reels because nobody
Yeah.
can stand to be engaged longer than 30 seconds.
See, that's a lie. That's the lie that the media is trying to push on us. I know for a fact, and I've seen this. What was it? My birthday. I did a 12-hour live stream, and I had huge on YouTube. Almost, I had a small crowd of people. I had 500% more people watching me on Rumble. And it's amazing that Rumble, the smaller channel where I have fewer subscribers, had 500% more people than what I had on YouTube that I've been on there for 14 years. You would think that the algorithms would, I have an established channel with lots of videos, been doing it for 14 years. I have expertise. You would think YouTube would be the primary. No, the smaller channel, the smaller competitor with fewer subscribers had 500%. It's because the algorithms are trying to turn people away from actual in-depth conversations. They don't want you to think about it. That's why they're pushing the TikTok formula, the 30-second shorts. They want you to not have a conversation. They want you to hear it and obey. That's it. But people are starving for conversations like this one. They're starving for it. It's the algorithm that's making it so difficult. Remember, folks, like, share, subscribe. This program, like, share, subscribe. Go on.
Mhm.
It was in 1994, 1995 when it all changed. Before 94, 95, we used to watch the news, consume the news based on the relevance of the story, how important it was, and it didn't make a difference how long that story was in the news, so long as we would eventually get to the bottom of that story.
Mm-hmm.
The story would run its natural course. And how does the story run its natural course? Journalism. They tell you that every story should have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right.
Who, what, where, when, and why. You're supposed to follow all of that. 94, 95, the O.J. Simpson trial goes on TV.
Yeah.
Every day, 12 witnesses. Every day, 12 rebuttals. Every day is another fiasco in the courtroom. Every day is something else. That's when news went into the 24-hour news cycle. You never heard the words news cycle before the O.J. Simpson trial. The media discovered at that point that the people only have, at best, a 24-hour attention span before they get so drowned out by everything that happened in that 24 hours. They're either going to change the channel or they're going to want to get something new. So the 24-hour news cycle, they would repeat everything in 24 hours, get it all done, and then boom, it was on to the next thing. It was on to the next thing. But for that beginning of time, everything was OJ, 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 and the country got fed up with it. In that 24-hour period, they didn't do commercial breaks for the O.J. Simpson trial.
No.
They did news breaks. It was the first story in the country in probably our generation where that was the story for 24 hours a day, and they interrupted it for other news.
Mm-hmm.
They interrupted it for other news. News became entertainment at that point in time. And America developed a very short attention span for what was important, because if it wasn't entertaining you, it wasn't relevant. So they could tell you what happened, and by the time they would get to tell you how it ended, you already forgot how it began. You didn't give a shit anymore. Nobody gave a shit anymore except people like you, Vass, who does this for a living, and this is what you do. But if it's not fast-paced and it's not changing, people do not care anymore. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The train derailment in Ohio.
Yeah. It's Palestine. Yeah.
We still don't have any. Still don't have any conclusions on that. All that was that for a week, Donald Trump got blamed for going over there and personally derailing the train. He removed the length of track after he got rid of the safety standards, caused the train to derail, and it disappeared. As soon that disappeared, that story disappeared. I'm going to give you another story that disappeared that people don't even realize has disappeared. Died suddenly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Died for 3 months. Every day there was another report. Somebody else died suddenly. Somebody else was kicked over and doing this and doing that and everything else. I don't think necessarily that the numbers of people who've died suddenly has decreased. What I think is decreased is how the media is covering
you can still find them.
You have to find them. But that's the point,
them.
Michael. You have to find them. It was happening with such great frequency.
Yeah, they're not.
Right. It was happening at such great frequency that they couldn't hide them. Now, because everybody got inundated with the died suddenly, and everybody started saying, "Oh, well, we don't give a shit. So what? Who cares? They're never going to tell us the truth. We're never going to get the answer. So who cares? We're just going to keep getting lied to." People lost touch with the story. They don't care anymore. So now they don't even bother reporting it, except now we get some 42-year-old anchor woman, from some Midwest state out there, drops dead at 42 years old while on vacation with her husband and 2 kids. Now she died suddenly. Now it's back in the headline. But day after tomorrow, no one will even remember her name. The news cycle changes quickly because they understand that news is entertainment. And as long as they can keep the people entertained, people don't care. And people will not pay attention
Mark
to anything.
Sheehan died today after a quote-unquote short illness.
Who's that?
Mark Sheehan, the guitarist for The Script.
That tells you what I know. I don't know nothing about. I never heard of him.
Heard the name, don't know the band. But young people don't just suddenly die like this. And 42 is young. Young people don't just fall out the sky and keel over. It just
you guys saw that they came out with the report that the government knew that this was going to kill people, and they went ahead and made it mandatory anyway.
It's only common sense. There isn't a drug made by man that doesn't have some percentage of people who will die. Every single drug that's been made has in its list of possible side effects death, because the percentage, I think they're not required to list it as a requirement by FDA regulations if it's under 3% of the population.
Yeah, but Mike, they didn't have any instructions written. That's
Well, no, they didn't do that on purpose because, one, they didn't test it. So there's no way you can get the list of side effects because it's not tested. It's never been tested. It's completely experimental, and they have no idea what this thing's going to do. And they lied from day one. It's completely safe. You don't know that. You can't know that. It's not possible to know that. It's brand new. It's never been we didn't even test it in lab rats. We have no clue what this thing's going to do, short term or long term. And that's why there's an NDA. There's a waiver that they require you have to sign because they will not get sued by this. They made the government sign it too because they know. The manufacturers knew. We have no idea what this thing's going to do because we didn't even put it into a lab rat. We have no clue if this thing is safe. And they said, hit everybody.
How can people get around that NDA then? Because there were just 4 cases that were settled here in the USA for over $4,000 from shot side effects.
You can't get around it because legally, the government waived your rights, and then they ask you to waive your rights on top, unless you can prove that you have a diminished capacity of understanding, um, which means that you would be easily manipulated, and therefore it was not explained clearly enough to you, and you didn't understand what signing away your rights would involve, or how it would make you liable to negative consequences. Unless you could prove that, you legally signed the contract twice. The government did it for you once. You did it for yourself again. Company said, no, the only reason they would settle at this point is if you're not diminished capacity, then the only other person they would settle with is just because the person might be high profile and they don't want to deal with the headache. $4,000 to Pfizer means nothing. It's a nuisance. It's not even level of nuisance lawsuit. It's like, here's $4,000. Walk away. Who cares? They don't even notice that number.
Well,
It's like
I
two
thought. Oh,
injections.
yeah, you're right. It's not
$4,000
worth
to
money.
them is like a penny to us.
Yeah, well, I thought they were able to get around it because anybody that I know that had to have the shot, it was because the president said it was mandatory. And so Jobs and everybody else said, well, you ain't walking in the doors unless you take it.
Right. But the loophole is that's the government saying that it's mandatory. They're pushing it onto the employers. So the government has indemnified or provided prevention of lawsuit to Pfizer from the government. The FDA can't sue Pfizer or Moderna because the government waived that right. Then it goes to the individual. And at the individual level, everyone who gets that shot, before you do it, they make you sign the waiver that says you will not hold them liable. The moment you sign that, you've now said on a personal level as well as a national level, nope, I don't have any, doesn't matter what it does. It could be literally, they could inject you with cyanide, literally, and it wouldn't matter because at that point, you've waived your rights. You could be taking hemlock, straight hemlock. Wouldn't matter because you said, nope, it's perfectly okay. It's terrifying when you think about the consequence. And this is what I mean by the consequences we were talking about earlier. They're not thinking long term. They were thinking this scares people. People want safety. They don't want to switch people in elected office. They want to keep everything as normal as possible because they're terrified, which means you are giving away your rights. And they knew it, but it would get them through the next election. And that's why they did it. And look at the long-term consequences. We don't even understand what the consequences in the next 5 years, the next 10 years. We don't know what this is doing to people. I mean, we know isolated cases. Remember, what was it? It was that famous singer. She came out and said her cousin, a young black man, had his balls swell and became sterilized. And the media said, that's a lie. That could never have happened. You are just misinformation, disinformation. It's true. It did happen to her cousin. And it is a known side effect. It's a small number of people, we believe. But we do know that there are multiple cases of this, and it is happening worldwide, especially to young black men. So it's the game they are playing. Did you see Elon Musk and his live interview with the BBC? Did you guys see that?
I caught a part of it.
Yeah. And well, the BBC, which is the British news agency, state-run news agency, they're funded by the public, this government of the United Kingdom.
It's British NPR, but with photo.
Exactly. And so the BBC did an interview with Elon Musk. Elon Musk said, I don't want to do it taped, do it live. And he did it live, and it's funny as hell because the guy goes, well, you've been pushing hate speech. You've been, under Elon, more hate speech. Elon goes, okay, give me one example of what you mean. What's hate speech? Please define hate speech. He's like, well, I get it in my feed. Okay, give me one example of what you're talking about. The guy goes, well, I don't use the feed. That's a lie. He does use the feed. And Elon goes, but can't you even name one example? Well, other people have been doing studies. They say that it's true. So you have no proof of this. You're saying you don't use it, and you're telling me there's hate speech? You have no idea. You're a liar. Called him a liar to his face and said he doesn't know how to do his job, and that means the BBC as well. That was brilliant because that's what's happening across this nation. You're not supposed to challenge. You're supposed to, when that reporter says, oh, you're promoting hate speech, you're supposed to say, I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. Oh, how could I have known? No. He said, show me the proof. That's the accusation. Show me the proof. We got into this thing with Me Too. Since Me Too in 2017. Oh, well, you've been accused. You must be guilty. Wait a minute. Give me the proof. Prove that you didn't just make this up. Prove that I'm guilty. Remember, in our nation, we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. What did Nancy Pelosi say about Trump? Oh, he has to prove his innocence.
Go to court and prove his innocence.
Exactly. We only get that when we have all these leaders who are turning around trying to tell people, oh, but you've been accused, so that means you're guilty. Screw you. No, you can accuse me anything you want all day long. Until you can prove it, I'm innocent. I don't care what your opinion or your feelings are. It's called innocent until proven guilty. Your accusation means jack shit. Doesn't mean anything. Because that's just, I have a feeling. I have a feeling too. My feeling is like, go ahead. I'm losing my mind. Go ahead.
It's just like the indictment that they handed down on Trump. Everybody's saying, he's finally been got. He's guilty. This proves he's guilty. This proves it. No. No. It
doesn't prove a damn thing.
Prove a thing.
Yeah.
What it proves is that a grand jury believes there was enough evidence that this should go to trial. That nothing more.
He's still innocent. He still gets the presumption of innocence. They still have to prove their case in a courtroom. Yeah. But we're supposed to believe, Me Too. We're supposed to believe the media. We're supposed to just say, well, they said so it must be true. Evidence be damned. It doesn't matter. And that just, it infuriates me. And we need more things like what we saw with, whether you like Elon or not, I could care less. It doesn't matter. It's the example of what he did is show me the proof. Yeah, I hear your accusation. You got a feeling. Fantastic. Don't care. Show me the proof. Can't do it? Oh, you're lying. He's a reporter, goddammit. He's supposed to know.
Well, I thought it was hilarious too that NPR pulled themselves from Twitter because he labeled them as as state.
They're paid. They get their funding from the state.
State-run media.
Yep. I thought that was hilarious when I saw him label them that way.
They are.
And then
They
when
are
I saw the other
state-affiliated
day
media.
that we're not going to be on Twitter.
It's not wrong. He's right. It's like the BBC. They get their money from the state. The government is paying for them. PBS too. They get their money from the government, a large portion. That's why they have the endowments and the grants from the government. They mention it every time they go fundraising. This is because we have a grant from the United States government, paid for in part by the U.S. government. Because it addresses and points out that they are not as impartial as they want you to believe, that they have partisan views, they have political agendas and ideology, which means they should be questioned, as they always used to be. Just because you're in the news media doesn't mean you're to be believed like this is from the Bible, like you are speaking to God themselves. I'm sorry. No, because they get it wrong a lot. That's why they lost to Nick Sandmann. Did we forget? I know most people did. Nick Sandmann, a kid in high school that they demonized, threw that kid under a bus and then detonated the bridge on top of him on it. They tried to railroad that kid all day long, and then they showed us the full unedited video. And what did we see? The kid's just standing there as he is the victim being abused, which is why he won he won hundreds of millions per news station. Same thing with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Well, Rittenhouse's civil suits are still waiting.
Well, that's the civil, and that's just because they're pissed off because they lost. But he's going to win that too because he won. He won the criminal. He'll win the civil.
I can't wait to see him be the new host of The View, because he's going to sue that fucking show into oblivion,
and he should,
and rightfully so,
Yeah. But that's the thing. But people are like, but it was in the news. Doesn't mean it's correct.
I can just picture it now. Here's Rittenhouse, new host of The View, and then the opening of it is him looking through a scope. That's a hell of a view.
I like that. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that would be funny.
That would be. Oh, here's something that's different. This is in New York politics, but we're seeing this in politics all across the nation. So the election season has started. The election season for 2024. And I don't mean the presidential race. I mean Congress. Did you guys know that?
Say that again.
The election season
cycle starts the last vote is counted in the last one.
Mm-hmm. Well, but it's public. We're now seeing the announcements starting to come out for Congress for 2024.
Well, that's because it is a proven fact that they do work for the first 2 years, and then for the next 4 years, because Senate is every 6 years, House is every 4 years. So the Senate works for
House
2
is every
years.
2.
No. House
is every 2. Senate works for 2 years, and then they want to focus on getting you to vote for them for 4 years. So the House works on everything for a year or 6 months, and then tries to focus everything. I mean, they don't focus on making us better.
I wish that was the case because it's been 3 months. It's been 3 months, and now my friend Josh Riley, and I do mean this seriously, for 8 years, Josh was buddy with me. He used to call me on the phone, introduced me to his dad, and we were hanging out in the bar, and he's talking to me about what's happening in DC. Josh Riley, a Democrat and a lobbyist, he ran for Congress in 2022 for the New York night. He ran for the New York 22, the New York 24, and then the New York 19, and he lost. And he just this week came out and said he wants to run again. And so I had to let him know that, and I had to let everyone know that I did not forget that the reason why he was running, and Frank, you may see this, it's on the screen.
Sorry about that.
That's right. So Josh Riley was so desperate, and maybe you want to take Jan's covered up her face.
I thought you had the control over that too.
Oh no,
sorry.
Sorry.
There you go.
So Josh Riley was so desperate for votes in 2022 that when I sent him a video showing him that some of his supporters were using racism and ageism to anyone who would dare question his campaign rhetoric, he had nothing to say. He wanted those votes. He wanted those supporters. Well, I decided that I went through and looked at everything that he was doing and all the promises he was making, including the fact that he's saying he doesn't take PAC money, corporate PAC money. No, he takes leadership PAC money. You know what the difference is? Instead of a business giving him a check, even though he got a check from Google, he got a check from Apple. Besides those checks, no. He goes to a leadership fund as a politician, in this case, Steny Hoyer, gets all the money from all the corporations, He goes out to dinner every so often, and then he takes about 1/5 of the money he gets and he gives it to campaigns like Josh Riley. This is why Josh says, I don't take corporate PAC money. No, you take leadership PAC money, which is even worse. That's dirty money, according to Democrat politics. It's money bundled by Steny Hoyer and Al Franken. And by the way, I have the proof. Where is it? I know I have the proof. It's right up here. There. And Al Franken, a man who was Me Too'd out of office, left in disgrace. And these leadership PACs are bundling money from corporations to give to Josh so that he can say, I don't take corporate PAC money. No, you just take money directly from Apple, from Google, and from leadership PACs. But he's been lying to the public. This is the kind of crap that I want to highlight because this, I think, is insulting. What do you guys think?
Well, I tried calling that guy out several times, not only for, because a lot of his supporters directly attacked you for calling him out on stuff and started going after you in some of the most vulgar racial ways possible. And he just refused in any way, shape, or form to even respond. And I know the messages got looked at. Now, whether the messages I sent him and the emails I sent to him were looked at by him or by staff, I couldn't tell you. But, dude, it's politics, man. It's politics.
I hate the dishonesty. It's one thing to, okay, my opponent sucks and I'm great. Okay, it's been 3 months. How bad can your guy suck? Matter of fact, when I compared him to Dan Goldman, who is the only Democrat who was just elected in New York State, he's literally side-by-side comparison, which I did in that video. Dan Goldman looks like crap. If anything, he should be running against Dan Goldman because Dan Goldman's failing his constituents. But that being said, it's like the thing about the leadership PACs. This is dirty money. And I'll say that for the right or for the left. But he's using this excuse. I don't take corporate PAC money, which is implying he doesn't take money from corporations. Yet he does. Google is about as corporate as you get. He takes money from them. He takes money from Apple. And he's taking money from leadership funds, which is a dirty money. Literally, Steny Hoyer, he got $7.5 million from all these corporations. He gave out $1.3 million to Josh Riley and other Democratic candidates. What happened to he has 2.2. So he has $4 million that he spent. Okay. He has either 2 million in cash and about 1.3 million that he spent on candidates. What happened to the other $3 million? He spent it on, he went out to dinner. He went over to luncheons. He bought himself a bunch of suits, hired a bunch of friends and family. That's dirty money. That's leadership PACs are so evil. And they're trying to play this game like, I'm so above board. I am so clean, squeaky clean because I don't do that bad stuff. No, you just do non-transparent crap like this behind people's backs. And I'm calling them out on it. I think it should happen more often. That's just me.
Well, we can call them out all we want, but if we're just going to, yell at a megaphone, yell through the megaphone, but if the megaphone is pointed at a wall, ain't nobody going to hear us. These things got to be shouted out to larger crowds. They got to be put in place where people can actually see them. But unfortunately, the only way to fight that kind of money these days is with that kind of money. And the only people who have that kind of money are the people who play the same games and are just as corrupt. They just happen to sit on the other side of the aisle. So they're not going to call out.
Soros is a perfect example of that.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, you think for a second that Mitch McConnell is any better than Steny Hoyer?
No, not at all.
No, they all play the same game. And again, it's a game that none of us are invited to. And then when you have And then when you do have a couple of people that show up in Washington D.C. that say, you know what, I'm not going to play by the party line. If they're Republicans, they get instantly called homophobe, bigot, racist, transphobic, radical extremists.
Yeah.
And if they're a Democrat, they'll figure out how to get rid of them through some sort of sex scandal.
Yeah. Like Al Franken. Yeah.
Right. They'll try and do something like that. If you are outside of the mainstream, left or right, and you don't play the politics that the left or the right would, establish, like people don't realize, you know how every single one of the Congress people that we have up there is required to spend like 10 hours a week on K Street in the building that they all use for lobbying, making phone calls to get donors, not for themselves, but for the DNC or the RNC. And if you don't meet your quota, these guys and girls, these men and women, if you want a committee assignment, you've got to raise like $250,000 a week on your phones with your voice, calling individual donors and your constituents up and all the rest of that. Not really the constituents like, Mr. $40,000 and $50,000 a year people, not the people who are struggling to get by. No, all your 7 and 8 figure earners that they vilify Monday through Friday, they're calling up all day on Saturday to get them invited to come to some $50,000 per plate dinner on Saturday evening.
Yeah.
And if you don't play the game, you don't get any committee assignments. You'll not be allowed to introduce any bills. You won't be allowed to put your signature as a co-sponsor. You won't be allowed to ask any questions on the committees that they forced you to have to sit on. Like when they have a vacancy. Like I'm the kind of guy that would wind up showing up in Congress, and they would wind up putting me on some committee that is so far out of my depth that I have no business being on that committee. Why would they want to do that to me? Because I'm not somebody who would play their game. So they would put me on a committee where I am the least possible effective as I could possibly be. I'm as little effective as I possibly could be, because they want to keep the weak members down so they can get them replaced by people that will play along the party lines.
True.
They will play the game. Every bit of Washington is corrupt. Every facet of it. There is not a single thing, with the exception, I think the only office that I think is probably, I should say, is the least tainted are the historians. The people that are in charge of, making sure that the records are supposed to be,
that was true up until Mar-a-Lago. Yeah.
Well, that wasn't, records department didn't sign those subpoenas. They didn't do it. The people that keep the records, they don't have a dog in the hunt. That's their job, is just to file the records. They just got to prevent people like from what's his face coming in and stealing them and sticking them in his socks. But every other office in Washington is corrupt as you could possibly get.
No, they corrupted librarians too, the archivist, because the archivist was the one under the Biden administration. Yeah. He signed, he's the one who went to the FBI to force the subpoena on records that they were already in negotiations to turn over from Mar-a-Lago. That was the archivist who did that. So while they used to be, you're right, not anymore.
Well, then
just political.
Well, then I stand corrected. Then there's not one facet of government that we can trust that's not corrupted. Every single facet, then every angle, no matter
archivist also is responsible for amendments. Okay, make sure that they get put in the Constitution when they're ratified and so forth. Proof of the original First Amendment has been offered. Documented proof has been offered to the National Archivist, and they refuse to adopt it as an act actual amendment, even though it has been actually ratified
Really?
or was ratified back in 1792.
Two? Yeah. I didn't know they
Yep.
didn't that they don't have it on the archivists. I mean, that's
Yeah, Michael has done some very extensive research and documentation on this, and it's quite frightening what he has found.
that's scary because at some point they could say, "Oh, the First Amendment doesn't mean what you think it means anymore because we don't have any proof of what it did mean." I mean, that's their actual job,
Right.
proof that this happened. That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The ratification from the state had been lost for years. A group of people that were doing research on it ended up finding that document because it was misfiled by the archivists. And back then, they took and submitted it when they found it to the not this archivist, but the last archivist, or maybe even the one before. Submitted it to the archivist, and the archivist used to take it to the House, saying that the original First Amendment had been ratified.
What is happening to our country? I had not heard of, but that terrifies me. First Amendment, it's too important not to have the proof.
Yeah. Well,
Just
the original First Amendment, do you know what it is?
Are we talking about under the Articles
Not
of
the First
Convention?
Amendment we have now, the original First Amendment.
Under the Articles of Convention or Confederation? Under the Articles of Confederation?
No.
That one?
No,
No,
this is the
I don't.
original First Amendment of the Constitution. There were 12 amendments that were sent to the states to be ratified.
10 were ratified.
The First Amendment that we call the First Amendment now was after the Third Amendment.
What were the other two?
Okay. The original First Amendment was an amendment that would actually set the population density for the number of members of Congress.
Oh,
and it was originally supposed to be set.
Yeah, that's
important.
I know you've been doing a lot of research on how many members we're supposed to have versus how many we have now, because it shouldn't be fixed at 535. And I know you've been talking about for a while.
Right.
It should be much, much more.
Yeah. 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 There's proof that it was ratified. It was ratified at the same time as the original 10. Only one that was the original was what later became the 27th Amendment.
I don't know what the 27th is. What's the 27th?
Is one that it's at 1 second. It's the one that prohibits Congress from enacting a law to increase or decrease the salary of Congress until after the next election of the House of Representatives has occurred.
Well, I'd like to see them all have their. I wish they had said instead that the most you can get paid for in Congress is the average of whatever people in your state make, because they get paid too much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they shouldn't even be allowed to give themselves raises.
Exactly.
But that was originally it was introduced in 1789. It did not become ratified until 1992.
That's funny. That's a long ways away. It's crazy. No, I didn't even know that.
Now, the original First Amendment, let me look this up real quick.
Sometimes the things that it's amazing some of the things you learn as you go along.
Yeah, for instance, I'm sitting here on the other thing looking at the Cabot Guns website. Well, you're talking about the First Amendment. I'm looking at stuff for my Second Amendment. I'm sitting here looking. I was like, wow, they made guns out of meteorites. Nice.
Really? Well, okay, that's different.
Well, I have a Cabot Guns is probably America's premier 1911 firearm maker.
Mm-hmm.
Their least expensive gun is over $5,000. Every single one of them is completely handmade, and all the rest of that. They have a company that I know the guys who own it called Invicta Safes. They make a clear safe that you could use as a display case to put your guns in. And they're bulletproof, bomb-proof. You could do it so you could hang your gun on the wall in the house, and no one can get to it but you. And you could use it as a display piece, and it's cool.
Cool.
They make one of the safes they sent to Cabot Guns. Cabot Guns has got $1 million set of matching 1911s that are completely built out of an asteroid.
Okay.
I should say a meteorite. A meteorite is what it is, and they look like Damascus steel.
Yeah.
But the metal is so dense and so strong. It came from this meteorite that they're almost twice as heavy as what they would be if they were made out of regular stainless steel. They're so dense.
Ooh,
You
wow.
know, the metal is so compact, and they have a pair of them. It's like over $1 million they want for the set. They're on display in Cabot's office in one of these Invicta safes. And I was like, man, if I had
cool.
if I had stupid money,
Yeah, that would be a buy. That would be a buy. I like that.
because they're the only ones like it that'll ever be made. Because they came from one meteorite, and whatever the metallic composition of these guns are, the metallic combination can never be duplicated because it's a unique fingerprint that came from a meteorite. You know, so
That's cool. That's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, so a friend of mine just texted me a picture of a Cabot gun that he was holding today, and I said, "Oh, look at that!" And I hit the link, and like, "Oh God." Yeah, the link he sent me for the gun that he showed me is $25,000.
Wow. You know, for a
affordable.
recession,
It's affordable.
Yeah, like we always say, pocket change.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a recession. No.
As Ralph Cramden would say, a mere bag of shells.
That's a nice bag.
Talk about people with stupid money. I used to work with my uncle. My uncle was a world famous interior designer, and he used to do draperies and upholstery work and all kinds of stuff. And I apprenticed with him for years and years and years and years. You know, and learning how to operate his equipment, learning how to hang drapes and blinds, all kinds of stuff. There's a family we went and did a job for, and it was in middle of January, and their house is set back like 3 miles from the main road, and they have a paver driveway. And we got out there, and we were driving to the house, slushing through like 6 inches of snow the whole way out there until we got to their gates of their complex. And they have these like 12-foot tall wrought iron gates that are all electrified, so they swing open and everything else. And as we pull in, we noticed that the driveway was completely dry and free of snow. 3 miles long, heated driveway. Heated driveway.
That's an electric bill, all right.
All right. and it's radiant. There's 150-degree antifreeze pumping through tubing in the ground. It's not an electric driveway. They have a furnace house just to run a furnace just to keep the driveway warm. All right. And we went, I'm serious. And we went there and we had, now picture, he's driving a Chevy Caprice station wagon, my uncle and I. My uncle was all of 5 foot tall. He was a little tiny little guy, but, and he had the world's biggest personality. And we got out to the house and we were unloading package after package after package after package. And it's this silk lame fabric that we're dealing with has 24 karat gold thread woven throughout all of this fabric. And it, when the drapes go up, it paints a picture. And it's this beautiful 3-dimensional image of country landscape and all kinds of stuff. And it's like layer upon layer. You could hold this stuff up to your face. It's like it's not even there. You look right through it. It's not till you get like 10 layers of this stuff that you actually see the dimensions. $47,000 to dress one window in this house for the housekeeper's bathroom.
That's funny.
$47,000, one window. And I said to myself, my God. Now, do I begrudge those people for having that money?
No, hey.
Absolutely not, because my uncle made 20 grand on that window. He
Yeah,
made
God
20
bless him.
grand on that window. He probably made 200,000 dressing that house out. You know, my uncle made money because they had money. And I look and I go, I said, there's nothing wrong with having money. There's nothing wrong with having it.
Hey, how many people has J.K. Rowling? How many people has she employed, given jobs to, and careers to? Because she's rich.
If you look at how many, she's worth over $1 billion now.
Yeah.
Right. Look at how much money she's made for other people.
Exactly.
She's made other people wealthy in an accumulation of, she's probably made 10 billion for other people to the 1 billion that she has. With between the books and movies and everything else, she's produced for others 10 times what she's produced for herself. But yet they'll begrudge her because she's got a big chunk of it all to herself. But without her intellectual property, none of those other people would have been able to do what they've done, would have been able to earn the livings that they earn, buy the houses they live in, the cars they drive, or send their kids to the schools they pay the tuition for.
But it's because, rich people are evil. They're ists and phobes. They have to be.
Well, for JK, it's not just the fact that she was rich. They didn't like what she was saying.
Which she didn't say anything all that unusual. I mean,
well, she didn't, but it went against their narrative, because it had to do with the QI+A.
Well, they loved her when she made. Remember when she made Dumbledore gay? They loved the hell out of her. It wasn't in the books. She just did it. Yeah. And then everyone's like, oh my God, see how wonderful she is. And now she's evil. I'm like, same person, same book series.
Well,
same story.
Well, she also riled a lot of feathers when she came out as being, all those people coming across the different borders looking for, amnesty, or what are they called? Refugees. They're looking for refugee status. And she came out in favor of all the refugees being able to look for asylum until somebody asked her, well, how many are you going to house in your place? As soon as she was very in favor of asylum, very in favor of the gay rights thing. And then she was, traditional people were mad at her at the beginning, but the left was mad at her for having money. And now they're not mad at her for having money. Now she's mad at her because she doesn't like trans rights.
Well, and she's back in the news now because There's some new 7-part series that's supposed to come out that has to do with the Harry Potter.
TV show. They're going to redo it. They're going to redo the entire series
Is
in
that what
a
they're
TV
doing? Well,
show.
I heard that, but now they're calling her. The article I read about it said that they were coming out with it. She's going to be the lead person behind it all again, and she, it's coming from she who should not be named.
I don't understand this. How many people, how many careers? She just made the careers for all those actors. She just made stupid money for so many people. She pushed the whole LGBTQ thing with Dumbledore and his boyfriend, whatever it is, in that other series, Beasts, whatever it was. I didn't watch it, don't care about it. And now she's going to do a 7-season retelling of Harry Potter itself, expanding on the lore and going into all the stuff they didn't get to in the movies that are in the books, which means she's going to make, I don't know how many young kids, world famous actors, and set them up for life. And all these other people who are going to be working on the production, and they're going to be able to make, God knows, they're going to make like 30, 40% of 50% of all the people are going to be either diverse and or gay and or probably trans. They'll probably slip that in there. Who knows? And it's like, for the left, it's a grab bag of goodies that happens to be so popular that no one's going to shoot it down for just pissing on traditional anything where it doesn't have to. They're going to actually just insert the politics, because when don't they nowadays? And they're still pissed at her. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. As I always like to say, what? Okay, how many poor people make businesses? They don't. I don't get this. And why piss on her grave when she's doing everything for them? She's making LGBT more normal and more commonplace, and I have no problem with that, than anyone else. I can't name another series that's making it more commonplace and more acceptable than what she's doing worldwide. Or am I misunderstanding that? I think she's like one of the biggest advocates for LGBTQ, well, LGBT or LGBT.
Well, if she's one of the biggest advocates, I haven't heard anything that has changed, because the whole backlash for her was because she wasn't LGBTQ.
Yeah, she was LGB or something like that. I don't understand. I honestly, Dan, I don't understand the intricacies of that, because I don't need to. It's people's private lives.
I'm part of it, and I don't understand it either, because I'm part of the community. I should still have my beliefs within the community and my say so within a community, and then they've canceled all of us who don't agree with the QIA plus.
Yeah, and because it's all politics. That's all. It has nothing to do with how you're living your life. It's like, okay, people want to live their life. I'm fine with that. Leave it there. No, but you don't understand. I just said I'm okay. Leave it there. No, but you don't understand. We have to go further. Why? Why do I have to go? I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do it. I said I'm okay. It's all good. Leave me alone. No. You've got to go further. And they say the same thing to you, Jan. At least that's the way I read it. Is no, but you gotta keep running down this road. You gotta keep going. It's like,
well, I know people. I've got people within one of the gal groups that I'm in that she was told she couldn't go to Pride. She had people literally tell her, "Why are you at Pride when you don't support your own community?"
What the hell is that supposed to mean? I don't understand that.
Because she does not agree with all this trans stuff. She doesn't agree with all the QIA stuff.
Shouldn't have to.
But they literally told her, do not, people who she knows from the other side, do not show up to Pride. That's not what Pride is about.
That is such a stupid. That's a myopic point of view. It doesn't make well. No, you know what? It does make sense because I keep getting told that I'm not black. I don't know
Well,
how I'm not black. But same idea.
It's the typical thing, though. Accept everybody, but we're not going to accept you because you don't have the same views that we do.
Yeah, accept everybody as long as they toe the line and go with the approved message. Don't ask questions. Don't make waves. Don't think. Just do what we told you.
Exactly.
In other words, be a slave.
Exactly.
At least that's how I keep. You've heard me say it before. This is how you make people slaves. This is modern day slavery, not the human trafficking, but this is the other slavery, and it's slavery of your mind. I don't understand it. I don't understand
Well,
it.
and even though I was in the chat room because of the guest, when I made that comment, which I thought was so hilarious because I had put in the resident homo, and then when Frank started talking and reading it, and the guy was like, "Wait a minute, you can't say that," and I'm sitting there going, "But I said it. I can say it."
Why not?
You know, but like what I was saying in there during that whole conversation, I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but with all the trans crap that's going on, they are shutting down lesbian groups because they won't accept a trans into the group. And it's like, we don't have to accept you into our group. You're not a lesbian.
Yeah. Just like some Chinese guy saying, I want to be part of, well, I don't know, some black or Hispanic group or something. There's this organization called the Spirits for Puerto Ricans in New York. We don't invite members. It's meant to be for Hispanic kids. I went to this during high school. This is going way back. But it's called Aspira. It's for Puerto Rican kids who are trying to do well in high school. And we don't have a bunch of Latvians in there because it's for Hispanic Puerto Ricans. What's the problem? It's like,
Well,
I don't get.
That's exactly it.
Well, listen, as long as we have, glass ceiling shatterers like Rachel Dozell out there that can become chapter leaders for the NAACP while wearing, the darkest possible suntan you can get, putting her hair in braids and claiming to be black for years and getting away with it.
Yeah.
And then not be condemned by the people that the same ones who condemn everybody else for wearing blackface who's ever done it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like saying, it's like them trying to say, well, you're not a man if you can't date a trans.
No, I'm a man. And I'm not dating someone trans.
I'll date who I want to date. I don't care what sex you are. That's like telling me I have to date a trans man who's become a woman because now they say they're lesbian. No, you're not.
Well, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black.
Yeah. I bet that they're going to do that because we're seeing it get crazier and crazier. Do you know that they're doing a new program? This is overseas. I guarantee you're going to see this in 2 to 3 years. They're going to try this on U.S. schools. They are now having a program in London and the BBC where they are having grown adults walk into a room filled with 14 to 16-year-olds, and the adults are naked. And the kids are there just looking at these naked people talking about those people, the naked adults' bodies. This is on national TV in the United Kingdom. They got the idea from the Netherlands where they were doing the same thing to 10 and 12-year-old kids. 10 and 12-year-olds.
They're trying to normalize. They're trying to normalize pedophilia.
Bingo. And I bet you that you're going to see that in San Francisco within the next 2 to 3 years.
Right.
Somewhere in California, probably San Francisco, might be Sacramento, but probably California will be the first ones to try this stupidity. And I see that is nothing but pedophilia. There's no reason. And they're like, well, it's to let everyone know that their bodies are normal. You see that in gym class. You walk down the street and you can tell everyone has a different body type. I don't need body positivity by taking a grown adult, men and women and trans, and have them naked in front of a bunch of 14-year-olds and televise that around the nation because it's body positive. No, it's pedophilia.
I'm sorry,
It's
but
wrong.
any parent that allows that should have their child taken away from them.
I think so.
Just like any parent here in the United States that takes their kids to drag shows, they should be taken away from them.
Drag shows are for adults, not for children. You're an adult, you want to be in a drag show, knock yourself out. If you're an adult and you want to be around naked adults, go to a strip club. I have no problem with that. Knock yourself out. That's your right. Children there's no justification for introducing this to children. That is just wrong. But their latest excuse is it's body positive. So when some guy walks down the street and decides to flash your kid, that's body positivity too, right? No, that's a crime. When sex offenders come after your kid to show them their bodies, well that's body positivity, right? No, that's crime.
Listen, here's the thing. The more and more they normalize it, it's no longer pedophilia. It's minor attracted adult. It's a minor attracted adult. It's no longer a perversion. It's not even a sickness. It's a life choice. And you have to accept all life choices. The reason why this is being pushed so fast, so furious now, when this shit's been around for hundreds of years, is because at some point or another, the lid is going to come off of who was on the planes, who went to the island. And if they can get it normalized by then and make it another non-story, then whoever was raping children will be able to have it excused. Because because that's what it is. They know that they've been caught. They know that it's gonna come out. There's not gonna be any way for them to explain it. If you can't explain your behavior, you normalize the behavior. That's how it happens. That's how it happens. When you can no longer defend it, when you can no longer explain it, you normalize it. You get people to accept it. Because once you get people to accept the behavior, then you can come out as being a participant in the behavior, and you're no longer a freak or sick or depraved or disgusting. You become brave.
Well, I think it has to do more than just who was on the airplane, because we have such a worldwide problem with sex trafficking.
Yeah, we do.
It wouldn't be so underground if they normalize it.
Why do we have to? Where does this come from? Why is this unknown mythical group of God knows what kind of elites constantly telling me and you what's normal, and we have to change? We have to change our lives to some arbitrary group's definition that changes with the fucking wind. I'm sorry, but it pisses me off. Why won't they ever change to what I think is normal? How about this? I'm black, I'm Hispanic. You change to what I want to be normal. Maybe you should change to what Jan wants to be normal. Screw these guys. Why do I have to accept their definition and have to be more what they want in my life?
Politics.
Well, because you don't have the ability to pay to have people look at your point of view and accept your point of view. You don't have the ability to put the money behind the people that'll promote and project and vote on your agenda. It's the people who have these sick, twisted beliefs that are also happen to be. All right, here's the thing. They live in a world with no consequence. They live in a world where nobody tells them no. They live in a world where the world is literally a fingertip away, where they can choose to do whatever they want to whomever they want, and no price will ever get paid because they're not used to ever being told no. Oh, you want a 7-year-old Filipino kid? Yeah, we got one of them for you. And they go and they grab one. You want an 18-year-old? We got that for you. Whatever your dalliance is, they got it for you. They're never, ever told no. Because as soon as somebody tells them no, they pay somebody else to tell them yes. And they get away with it over and over and over again. But now the jig is up. Now the jig is up. And now they all are being exposed for what they are. So the only thing they could do now is normalize it. Well, we're not doing anything that everybody else isn't doing. We're just doing it a little classier. We got a nicer island. It's not the rat infested roach motel, that we're bringing the underage kids to. No, we're bringing them to a tropical paradise. We're being gentle. We're being sweet. We're being nice. Look how much better we are than the average regular minor attracted person. You should be thanking us for letting these kids live, swaying under the breeze of a coconut tree, while they're not getting raped. That's the way it is. It's normalizing the behavior. And if we look at all those flight logs, and we've seen the flight logs, but nobody's ever been called to account for it yet. How many flight logs have we not seen? How many flight logs of people, of names we don't know? Okay, if you were to see, and I'm not saying he was, all right. Let's say I have a fictitious name up here on my screen, Zelmo J. Pitt. Okay, it was a joke name that a good friend of mine made up 50 years ago. Zelmo J. Pitt.
Okay.
Say Zelmo J. Pitt has won 5 Academy Awards. He's the greatest actor in the world. He's got screenplays. He's a director. He's the most famous guy in the world. Everybody knows Zelmo J. Pitt's name. But let's just say Bob Jones. Nobody knows who Bob Jones is. You look in the phone book, there's probably 1,000 Bob Joneses in the phone book. But there's probably only one of them that's a multi-billionaire because he's a hedge fund manager, or because he owns some insurance company, or because he invested in the right stocks or something like that, and he's affiliated with the right politicians. Well, nobody knows who Bob Jones is. So there's probably flight log after flight log full of names just like Bob Jones, Tom Smith.
Well, and we know
Nobody-
that Epstein wasn't the only island either.
No, but what I'm saying is there are probably thousands of extremely wealthy, powerful people whose names we don't know that are on those logs. And because they have more to lose than Zelmo J. Pitt does, because they're private people, they're private citizens. They're not celebrity folk that, like Kevin Spacey, what he got accused of raping a couple of kids or something like that, and stuff like that. And he's gone. Nobody hears from him except every now and then he comes out with a tweet, some sarcastic bullshit to keep poking the people that he got away from. But all the rest of these people, for all the money that they have no real power. So the only thing they can do is hope to change the perspective so it becomes normalized, so that when they do get exposed, there's no penalty for it. Because all the people that have never had to pay a penalty have been being exposed, and the Harvey Weinsteins of the world wind up going to jail because when they finally got told no, they got exposed. But all the ones that we don't know about, that's who they're protecting. They're protecting the ones you don't know because they're the ones who are paying the bills.
Yeah, and that's scary. It's terrifying. And it's
Again,
upsetting.
It's a big party, and we ain't invited.
That's a party I don't want to be in.
No, I don't want to go to that party anyway. I mean the party of secrets.
Yeah.
Of knowing what's going on behind the scenes. We'll not know about what's going on behind the scenes until after these people are dead. Why do you think they just added another 25 years to the Kennedy tape, to the Kennedy information? They want to make sure that there's not a possibility that anybody ever involved with that is dead.
Yeah, it's
The world
sometimes it's very frustrating,
is fucked.
but it doesn't have to be, and it wasn't always.
No, it doesn't have to be if people would get involved.
I mean, it's
Too many
our
people
life.
stand idly by and just accept what's happening to them. Okay, they might bitch, moan, and complain, but they don't do anything. They don't organize. They don't try to get together. All they do is bitch, moan, and complain, accept what's going on. Okay, the only reason why we're in the situation we is because we've allowed it.
True. I mean, it's aggravating, especially when
Okay. I mean, the Declaration of Independence states it very succinctly. Government gets its power from the citizens it serves.
mm-hmm.
Okay, if we don't grant government power, they can't wield it over us. But we give them that power.
Too much. We give them too much power.
Okay. And if you don't object to it, if you don't stand up against it, you are approving their usurpation of more power.
And I think the perfect example of that people can draw on most recently is 14 days to lower the curve.
Yeah. Everything will be normal in 14 days. Right. That ain't happening again. We're never getting back to normal. Said it then, say it now. Normal is whatever normal was, we ain't there. And we're
But
not
how
going
many
back.
of us kept saying, don't do it, because we knew it was going to be an 18-month thing.
Yeah. And we were right. And the sad thing is, the sad, honest truth is, as much as they demonized each and every one of us over and over again, everything we were warning about, everything we said, here it is. It took a couple of years, but the news is coming out and the science backs us up, and over. They just had another report. Masks are dangerous. Long-term wearing masks is not healthy for you. Yet another medical report has come out on that. We have these people, sudden deaths, these various experimental medication users are suddenly just having all these complications. We said it. We said it for years. Like, oh, you're just bad people. No, I'm just thinking.
It reminds me of the meme that somebody put out a little while ago. Of course, I had to post it too in several places, but conspiracy theorists 34-0. Well, I thought it was really interesting because after they came out and made the vaccine part of school vaccinations, it was about a month after that they came out and they said, well, kids between 6 and 18 don't need the shot because there's a 98% chance that they'll survive.
99.
But they did it after.
Yeah.
They put it as a recommendation.
Yeah. If you are under the age of 18 and under, you had a 99% survival rate. It was the one group of people that absolutely had no need for this whatsoever were people who are under the age. Absolutely. The younger you got, the more ridiculous the idea was of giving you a vaccination.
Well, and did you see a report recently too? I saw headline read, "Doctors admit to murder."
No, I didn't see that one.
It was about them actually putting people on respirators before the need to put them on respirators.
Oh, you mean like former disgraced Governor Andrew Cuomo 16,000 times?
Yes.
Well, you got to remember the hospitals were getting a big jump in funding for every single person they
But
put on
this
the ventilator.
was before the pandemic hit.
This is, but it's just sick. It's
I don't know. I didn't read that article, but I do know that every time the hospitals had somebody, this is how they got paid more if somebody died with COVID related symptoms. So if you got a gunshot wound, they counted it as COVID. Killed in a motorcycle accident was COVID. If you fell out of a fucking airplane, it was COVID. And no matter what you went into the hospital for, if they put you on a ventilator, they got like $15,000 additional for every time that they put somebody on a ventilator. So for the hospitals, it was a money game, and then you have that interesting dichotomy of the nurses that were on Instagram crying about how their wards were overwhelmed by COVID patients, and then have the same nurses 5 minutes later all appearing in little TikTok dance videos, dancing around the hospitals that didn't have nothing to do. And
well, we got evidence, by the way. Frank, you may want to point this up.
I'm right there.
I'm sharing, just in case anyone thought, people who are watching, this is, especially for the censors, this is the Washington Post, April 26, 2020. This is how much we knew then. New York's largest hospital system, many of the pandemic patients on ventilators didn't make it. How many? 90%. We knew that they were screwing up and it was costing people's lives, and we knew it. And we knew it in April of 2020. According to the Washington Post, a left-leaning source. So any of the censors can go screw themselves. We're talking about what's already proven science. And yet we're the bad guys for pointing out what's already been said.
Boss, if you want to look up that article, it's on newshourfirst.com, and it came out on the 12th.
I'll try and find it.
Well, while you guys are all looking up stuff like that, I'm actually going to get lost. I have a house full of people coming over tomorrow, and I've still got a bunch of chores I have to do. I have to start getting things done because as Vas celebrated his birthday last week, I'm celebrating mine this week.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
This is my last hurrah before the whirlwind of 10 days before surgery takes place.
No.
So I'm going to be, next couple of weeks is going to be rough. So I'm going to be getting out of here tonight. I'm going to leave you guys up to the discussion. You guys sign off whenever you want. I'm just going to wish you all good night. God bless. And you guys will be safe and shoot straight. Marshall, we'll catch up with that thing tomorrow, and we'll be good. So, all right, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have a good night. Love you guys.
All right, you too.
Take care, Frank.
Night, Frank.
Yeah, I'm not finding the link, and that could be because I'm on Google, and Google doesn't like to show everything.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you in Messenger. I did misspeak a little bit. It stated that they were putting on they were putting patients on ventilators to stop the spread of COVID. They didn't have COVID. They were wanting to stop the spread of COVID, and they were
that's just
killing them.
stupid. Yeah, that's just stupid. Why?
Well,
It
there
doesn't
were
make sense.
a ton of doctors that initially came out saying that they were treating COVID incorrectly because they said any other respiratory disease, when you treat them, one of the things is you want to get people up, get them moving around. Otherwise, the fluids that are in their lungs settle in their lungs and can't be expelled. Okay, that's one of the leading reasons why elderly people are so susceptible to dying of pneumonia is because they're typically bedridden. They aren't able to get up to expel the fluid out of their lungs. COVID was the same way, except the protocols that were being put forth by the CDC and WHO and other medical organizations was to put these people in bed, put them on oxygen, and so forth. Okay, basically keep them from getting up, moving around. Okay, which was the exact opposite of what you do for people that have respiratory illnesses. You don't want them bedridden. Okay, unless they absolutely have to be. Because the fluid it just settles in the lungs and it builds up in the lungs and makes it harder and harder for you to breathe. So you essentially drown in your own fluids. And that's what was happening initially with COVID. And there's a ton of doctors that were raising the alarm about this, saying that it was the exact opposite of what the protocol should be.
Yeah. It's terrifying to me. But none of this should be surprising because we know. And we've known these things. Again, we wait 6 months and then we find out, what everything we told you before is wrong. And it was the major media that told you, and they were wrong. Maybe they wait 2 years, then they were wrong. They lied. They got the story wrong. They knew they had it wrong. Oops. Next. Just keep believing. Just trust us. Don't worry. Doesn't matter.
Oh, we were wrong, but the information we had at the time, we thought we were right.
Yeah. And everybody who got it right and knew you were wrong, oh, well, they're still evil. They're still evil because they didn't say yes. They didn't approve
because they were
message.
Conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, they were conspiracy. But they were right in detail. Every detail was correct.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the latest thing is they're trying to do? The new thing that's going on? YouTube is de-emphasizing. That's their new way of saying shadow ban or censorship. They're de-emphasizing, and I have to apologize for if you show links in your video or you have them linked in the description, they want to demonetize you and they want to suppress that channel, even if you are linking to things like the Washington Post, credible news source internationally, recognized news media. But if you actually mention it in your video, if you have a link to it in the description, then they will either pull the video or censor the video. That's
because
the new
they've
policy.
caught on to how people like you work, boss. You post more and talk more about left-leaning news and media than you do from the right, and you can still tell the story from a conservative viewpoint.
Yeah, well, I use 90% of my sources are all left-leaning
And they don't
internationally
like it.
credible.
How dare you use their news sources to prove your point? Because the true story is buried 3/4 of the way down in that article.
No, you saw that on Sunday. 23rd paragraph. 23rd paragraph invalidates the entire article. Yeah, that was funny. That was Sunday. I showed that. But that's their new thing. You have to obey Don't tell anyone. Don't think. Just do what they say. It's horrendous. What's this? I don't know this one. It was last year. HR 666 or 5.
No, HR 5665.
Okay.
Okay. Combating an International Islamophobia Act.
What? Wait a minute. This is from Ilhan Omar. So already
Yes.
the source is not very credible. But international Islamophobia. So if I am not in favor of ISIS or Al Qaeda or the Taliban, if I believe in women's rights, if I want to support people who want to be gay and live their lives as adults, which is against what the Taliban, Iran, is ISIS, and Al Qaeda believe. So I'm an Islamophobe internationally. Is that what that's trying to tell me?
Yeah.
But yet she stands up and tells you you have to accept all of that stuff. It's so contradictory of each other.
It doesn't make any sense. Just because I don't believe in Al Qaeda, because I don't believe in ISIS, doesn't mean I'm an Islamophobe. I don't believe in that kind of authoritarian dictatorship, and they couch it in religion. And that's not a religion I follow. I don't have to. That doesn't make me an Islamophobe. It makes me anti-terrorist. I'm being very specific here. I didn't say every Muslim. I'm talking about ISIS, Al Qaeda, the Taliban, and Iran. That's not all of Islam. No one, Ilhan Omar is such an insane racist who she uses religion and everything. She twists so much. She's such an evil person.
But
so she's going to call you a terrorist for not believing in what they believe in, but then she's going to call you a racist or a homo or a
homophobe.
Yeah, homophobe because you don't agree with the LGB. You don't. I mean, can you say oxymoron?
Seriously. Yeah, I know it passed the House. I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't pass the Senate, thank God.
Yeah, it died in the Senate. But
it's stupid. It's because Ilhan Omar has a feeling I'm supposed to obey. I think not. I think I can make my own decisions for 55 years now.
Let's see if she starts pushing to marry in your brother here soon then too.
Well, here is the thing.
Yeah, right.
Okay. That is another way of censoring us. Okay, because it basically makes it illegal for you to talk about any aspect of Islam.
Which would be including the terrorists.
In a negative way.
How can you not talk about terrorism that's actually happening and the oppression of women and gays that is actually happening in several countries and several terrorist organizations? How am I supposed to spin that into a happy kind of conversation? I'm sorry. I'm good with words. I'm not that good. I don't know anyone who is.
Then you're not allowed to talk about it.
Which is why they don't talk about Afghanistan anymore.
Right.
Remember how they promised that once the Taliban took over, the Taliban promised that women would have rights. It was going to be wonderful. You notice they stopped talking about that because the Taliban said that's stupid. No, they're not doing it. And they just stopped talking about the story.
They're stoning women in the streets for being educated.
Yeah. Iran killing women. Why? They didn't wear a hijab. I can see their hair. But again, we're not supposed to talk about that. But we're supposed to support women. But we're supposed to support women unless it's in women's sports, because then we're supposed to support trans. the rules start
Yeah.
getting really convoluted really fast with this. I don't know
Michael,
how
you can't support women anymore because we can't define what a woman is.
Oh, well, there it is. Except we constantly define what a woman is in legislation and in other programs. So I'm supposed to support
Now,
women.
don't forget, there's over 170 genders.
God only knows there's every day. There's as many genders as there's days people are alive. But let me see if I get this straight. So I'm supposed to support women, but there is no such thing as a woman unless the biologist tells me that, and they won't. But I'm supposed to support women because women are equal to men, except they're not, because trans are better than men, better than women. They can be in women's sports, which is dominating women's sports, but that's okay because they're trans. It's already getting so stupid.
And recently, the Supreme Court just upheld trans women participating in sports.
Yeah.
Well, they did it. They didn't do it for the whole country. They did it for in a case here in West Virginia.
Yeah. Title IX was.
Yeah, it wasn't for the whole country. It was for some high school or college here.
Yeah, it was a high school, West Virginia. But here's the thing, that set the precedent. If Title IX doesn't apply to women, if it doesn't apply to women in West Virginia, it doesn't apply to women anywhere.
Well, and Biden wants to change Title IX. You saw that, didn't you?
No.
Yeah, Biden wants to change Title IX. Title IX was to protect women in sports. And he wants to change it so that the trans can get in there and have their rights under Title IX.
Why don't they just make a new division?
Well, exactly. These, the thing is you will never hear about this happening in men's sports because a trans man would never go up there and say, well, you have to include me because I'm a man now. Because they'd still get their asses whooped. Men are stronger than women.
You can be a trans man, try and get into the LA Rams. You're going to get run over. It's going to be brutal.
Exactly.
But you can try.
I thought it was a joke last month. Everywhere you looked, it was, Women's History Month. And it's like, how can we have a Women's History Month if we can't define what a woman is?
There you go. How do we know those were all women? They could have been 112 different other genders. Or 80 or 60.
It's a joke.
And you see Anheuser-Busch is trying to do damage control.
Oh, I read their release. It's a non-apology. It is crap. I've been doing this for too many years and I know how to read between lines, but they made that obvious. Whoever wrote that really sucks. He needs a new speechwriter because it's just transparent word gibberish. There is nothing. It's word soup that says nothing. All he said is,
you can't tell me it don't matter when you lose $6 billion in a matter of days.
Oh, it means a hell of a lot. Matter of fact, in case people haven't seen this yet, because I love it, they only released their apology on Twitter, and it's being quoted. Parts of it are being quoted by the rest of the news media, but this is the only place you can actually see the whole thing is on Twitter, which most people don't have, or at least a lot of Americans don't have. But there is nothing in this that says anything. Here it is. We're honored to, as CEO of a company founded in America's heartland more than 165 years ago. He happens to forget to mention that I think it was in the last 5 years, they sold the company to an international group out of the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. So they're not an American company. But anyway, I'm responsible for ensuring every customer feels proud of the beer we brew, unless the international board that owns your company has a different opinion. Going on, we're honored to be part of the fabric of this country. Anheuser-Busch employs more than 18,000 people. Who cares? What's that got to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything at all? And our independent distributors employ an additional 47,000 colleagues. What does that have to do with what you did, Anheuser-Busch? What does it have to do with your advertising? Nothing. You're trying to make us feel guilty for saying, I'm not going to drink Bud Light. That's all it is. This is such a bad speechwriter. We have thousands of partners, millions of fans, and proud history. Well, you have less than a few million because your fans are disappearing, and a proud history supporting our communities, military, first responders, sports fans, and hardworking Americans everywhere. When was the last time you saw a can of Bud Light that said something about that showed a construction worker or a member of the United States military or a first responder? When was the last time? 9/11? When was the last time they had that? Well, I don't believe that they're a great big supporter of anything except it apparently is the trans movement, because that's the only thing they're celebrating right now. Let's go on. This is so poorly written. It is so easy to tear apart because it's crap. We never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. Yes, you did. The ad to make the can, someone had to design the can and it had to be approved. The colors, the shape, the image that they used. So there was a whole staff of people there. It had to go up through the entire chain of the company to get approved by lawyer after lawyer, committee after committee. Yes, you did this on purpose. You did want to divide people because you knew it would be divisive. Let's go on. We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer. No, you're in the business of making some people come together and everyone else go away. We can see that from the stock price. My time serving this country taught me the importance of accountability and the values upon which America are founded. Let's stop right there. His time in the military, what does that have to do with a damn thing? Nothing. Because that has nothing to do with it. And if he wants to say accountability, then he should be accountable for the $6 billion loss to shareholders who own your stock to either make money or part of their IRA. You have failed Americans in their IRAs. You have hurt people. So if you're accountable, either reduce your salary, fire somebody, or resign. That's accountability. This is crap. Let's go on. Freedom, hard work, and respect for one another. Well, you don't have respect for the people who disagree with your political opinion that you decided to market. It's your propaganda. And people don't want propaganda when they want entertainment. That's why they're drinking a beer. But no, this is what he wants to say. As CEO of Anheuser-Busch, I am focused on building and protecting our remarkable history and heritage. Well, this has nothing to do with your history or your heritage. And in fact, if you cared about that, your history and your heritage would say, don't put Dylan Mulvaney on the face of a can and then push trans rights. That's not what your job, your company is. It was apolitical. You sold beer, not politics. Gee, that's what your history and heritage says. He's full of crap. Going on. I care deeply about this country, this company, our brands, and our partners. No, it doesn't seem like you do. I spend much of my time traveling across America. Who cares? Listening to and learning from our customers. Apparently not. Distributors and others. You mean your overlords overseas in the Netherlands that own the company. Be honest about it. Going on, moving forward, I will continue to work tirelessly to bring great beers to consumers across the nation. Bud Light was never a great beer to start with. And two, you don't seem to be working all that hard because you didn't figure out something that was so blatantly obvious. This is why you're getting protested. This is why you lost $6 billion. It's why your stock is down in half in the last year. And you know what? I hope it goes even lower. Screw Bud Light. That's my take on that whole little thing. Perhaps I spoke out of turn, and I apologize if I did. But those are my opinions.
Well, they did publish that article on their website, Anheuser-Busch.
Nope.
Okay, and I'm actually going to post it up. So
And in case people are wondering,
that.
yes, I've written speeches for politicians and others. So yeah, I'm critiquing whoever he has as speechwriter, fire them. I could have written something better than that. Not one thing in there addresses the issue at hand.
Okay. So after is what was on Twitter. Okay. The bottom. At Anheuser-Busch, our purpose is to create a future with more cheers. We're always looking to serve up new ways to meet life's moments, dream big, to move our industry forward, and to make a meaningful impact in the world. We hope to build a future that everyone can celebrate and everyone can share. For more than 160 years, Anheuser-Busch has carried on a legacy of brewing great tasting, high quality beers that have satisfied beer drinkers for generations. Today, we own and operate more than 120 facilities, including breweries, wholesale distribution centers, agricultural facilities, and packing plants, and have more than 19,000 colleagues across the United States. We are home to several of America's most loved beer and beyond beer brands, including Michelob Ultra, Cutwater Spirits, Stella Artois, Budweiser, Bud Light, as well as a number of regional brands that provide beer drinkers with a choice of the best tasting craft beers in the industry. From responsible drinking programs to emergency drinking water donations to industry leading sustainability efforts, we're guided by our unwavering commitment to support the communities we call home. For more information, visit Anheuserbusch.com or follow Anheuser-Busch on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah, screw them. And then then I see they're sicking their AI on you. Watch out. Your computer overlord is aware of you.
Yep.
But this is all crap. and again, there is no accountability in that statement. At no point do they take accountability. They don't say, oh, our customer, our base, the people who employ them and keep them alive and keep them making money, do not agree. Maybe you made a mistake, whether it's the marketing, the message, the person, the fact that you're being political and you're selling a product, whatever it may be. There's 4 different ways that you could have approached this. Oh, we messaged it wrong. We marketed it wrong. We picked the wrong person. Or, hey, we have a consumer product. Maybe we shouldn't be involved in politics. Those are 4 different ways that you could have written this that people would have said, you know what? They're apologizing. I can forgive them. Now you know. Don't be political. Now you know. Pick someone different. I don't know. Maybe it's Caitlyn Jenner. Pick them. Pick someone else. I don't know. Or maybe do a different design. Don't show a person's face. Maybe you show a flag. Maybe you show some other kind of image. I don't know. Or maybe, again, don't get political selling a product to people because that's propaganda and people don't like it. You know, I really, Anheuser-Busch, I will give you a discount on my rates. I can write this for you. I can do a much better job because that's crap. What you just put out there is absolute garbage. I could write better stuff than that in 6th grade. I can get an 8th grader that can write something like that. Whoever the speechwriter is, it sucks. It probably was written by the CEO himself because it's horrible.
Well, there was some information going around that Dylan Mulvaney was actually lying about having this deal, but then Bush came out and blew that.
Well, at first, because it was done on March 31st going into April 1st. So it was done on March 31st, but most people heard about it on April 1st. So they thought April Fool's joke. Okay, whatever. And they could have walked away from the whole thing right then and there, said nothing, and just let everyone say April Fool's joke, leave it alone. because they were
Well,
already seeing the
I think
feedback.
the biggest thing that, well, the second biggest thing that pissed me off about the whole thing is they waited till the last day of March, the last day of Women's History Month.
Because they knew that if they did it sooner, it would have gotten this kind of feedback. They knew they did it on purpose at the
Yep.
last moment. It's like why this press release only came out at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Friday so that no one will see it. This was meant they didn't publish it in the mainstream news media. They didn't make a public announcement. No, they put it on Twitter and they didn't say anything. Budweiser didn't Budweiser, Bass Ale, all their different brands still out. They didn't retweet this apology, this so-called apology. They put it out there and let it die. They want to walk away with this is their attempt at damage control because they know they screwed up.
Well, there's a
Yeah,
few
but I think
sources that are
the
trying to
biggest thing
say that
I think the biggest thing that they didn't
there's a few
expect
sources that
out of it, though, is
are trying to
people
say
are taking the whole line under Anheuser-Busch and boycotting. They're not just boycotting
No,
Bud Light and
they're
Budweiser.
going after the whole thing. Yeah,
they're going after the whole, because you can't, and I understand why, because it's the company as a whole saying this.
yeah, it's the CEO of all the brands. This is coming from overseas internationally with ESG. This is for everything in the entire company. So, I can't blame people for that. I mean, oh, you're a bad guy for protesting. Wait a minute. What about all the protests that we see on the left? At least nothing got burned down. What's the problem?
Hey, they didn't just piss off the conservatives. They pissed off the rednecks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kid Rock did shoot a case of Bud Light.
Yes, he did.
Hey, he paid
And
for it first.
a lot of the country western stars are not selling any of the Anheuser line at their concerts.
And that's making a difference. That counts quick. There is a bar. I saw a news report. There's a bar 1 block from the headquarters of Budweiser in Michigan or Missouri, 1 block away. And they stopped buying any Budweiser. And that's like the town manufacturing their beer. Their local bars in the same town are like, no, screw that. We're not doing this.
Well, there was a few reports out that, quote unquote, top Anheuser-Busch executives were blindsided by this PR campaign.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Permission had to come from the top. The top knew.
This is major corporate America, 165 years. They have their business channels. Nothing gets through without being approved on multiple levels. I had no idea. You had to approve it. Yes, you had an idea.
Well,
you may have had the wrong idea.
Do whatever they want. Okay, even the VP of marketing has to get approval before they go on with the ad campaign. She has to sell it.
Yeah.
And until she sells that to the board, to the CEO, etc., it does not go.
The accountants aren't going to approve it without someone else saying yes. The accountants are never going to say, yeah, okay, we'll pay for that. No, you've got to get it approved. Somebody above you has to say, yes, the top execs have to go, yeah, we're going with this line. They're
On that note, guys,
okay, I mean, all corporations have checks and balances just like anything else. That's so that somebody just doesn't run amok and ruin the brand.
Too late.
Yep.
But yeah, Jan, you're right.
Disney's also facing huge backlash for their Go Woke agenda. They're losing money over fist too.
Well,
the thing is, I think the message is coming out. Okay. People don't care. You want to be woke, fine. Do it on your own time. But when you're trying to sell to us, when you're trying to entertain us and so forth, quit trying to shove it down our throats. Do our time, but when you're trying to cater to us, we are more than your woke agenda.
Yeah, I don't have to approve, and I don't have, and just because you're woke doesn't mean I have to buy your product. Sorry, no, doesn't work that way. My money doesn't have to go to you. I will be happy to buy Guinness.
I don't drink, so they ain't getting my money anyway.
There you go. But we've been on for 2.5. I gotta take care of the puppy.
Yeah, we need to wrap this up. So, with that, our membership drive's still going on, folks. Okay, we do need your help. We can only do so much, and one of the things is we are running on shoestring budget as it is. Okay, there's only so much to make. So it limits a lot of what we are able to do. So we're asking for your help by becoming a member of Liberty, a premium member of the Liberty First Foundation. You will get access to some premium content and some other perks along the way, including the chance to win a custom engraved Henry Golden Boy to Lover Action rifle. But on top of that, what this does, what your membership money does, is it allows us to reach more people and allows us to create more programs where we can reach out to more people, where we educate more people about what we do here at the Liberty First Foundation. Now, one of the biggest we are trying to do is America's divided enough already. We're trying to bring America back and unite it back together. Okay. So with that, and with us becoming united, we can actually start taking control of our government instead of having government mandate to us what it wants. It can be the people mandating to government what it's going to do. And that's what was originally intended, the way our country was founded upon. That was the basis our country was founded upon. And it doesn't matter if you're left or right. That's the way our government is supposed to work. Right now, we are upside down. And our government's mandating to us what we can and cannot do. And we have to change that. And the only way we can change that is by coming together and uniting together to say, hey, you work for us. We don't work for you. So with that being said, we do ask you that you support the Liberty First Foundation. If you can't do a membership right now, great. There's other ways that you can help us. You can help us by liking, sharing, and commenting on our live streams. You can help us by sharing our content from the Liberty First Foundation website at l1f.us. You can also go and subscribe to our YouTube channels, Liberty First Foundation and the L1F Range Report. And you can also join our Facebook group and like our Facebook page, Liberty First Foundation. You can also find us on Twitter at the Liberty Foundation. So there are a lot of ways that you can help spread the word. Okay? And if nothing else, get into a conversation. Talk to people. Okay? Because the only way we can get our country back is get our government to start adhering to the Constitution. And without that, it doesn't matter if you're left or right, we're going to lose. Period. That, I'm going to say good night. Thank you, Michael. Sorry I missed last week, guys. And you next week, just like every other week, Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We're always here. Have a great week. Thank you.
You too.
Night, guys.